Panic mode. Danielle Smith obliterates Mark Carney's radical buyback program. Shocking analysis. In a dramatic political showdown, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has launched a fierce critique of Prime Minister Mark Carney's controversial gun buyback initiative. Labeling it a blatant confiscation, Smith has ignited a nationwide firestorm of debate. The confrontation highlights a growing rift between provincial autonomy and federal authority. Citizens across Canada are watching closely as this clash unfolds, aware that the decisions made could reshape the balance of power between Ottawa and Alberta, influencing future policy disputes and the nation's political climate. Prime Minister Carney's buyback program aims to remove over 1,500 assault-style firearms from civilian hands under a voluntary compensation system. While the federal government presents the plan as a public safety measure, several provinces, most prominently Alberta, resist participation. Critics argue the program could be ineffective in reducing crime, with questions about enforcement logistics and cost. Carney insists it is necessary to prevent mass shootings and to promote national safety, but the controversy has divided citizens and experts alike, fueling heated debates in media and politics. Premier Danielle Smith has been resolute in opposing the program, declaring Alberta will not comply. She emphasizes that diverting provincial law enforcement resources for federal mandates weakens efforts to fight serious crime, including gang violence and illegal firearm trafficking. Smith argues the program infringes on provincial rights and targets law-abiding gun owners rather than addressing real safety issues. Her strong rhetoric and firm stance resonate with many Albertans who view the federal initiative as government overreach, turning her into a central figure in the national debate over guns and federal authority. Smith's opposition has generated polarized public opinion. Supporters praise her defense of provincial sovereignty and citizens' rights, viewing her as a champion against excessive federal power. Critics, however, accuse her of politicizing public safety for electoral gain. Polls show Canadians divided, with some backing Alberta's resistance and others supporting national measures to curb gun violence. The controversy dominates news cycles and social media, intensifying political tension and fueling discussions about the limits of federal authority versus provincial autonomy, making this one of the most talked about issues in Canada today. Prime Minister Carney has reaffirmed that the buyback initiative remains a federal priority. He stresses that public safety is a national concern and asserts that the government has the legal authority to implement the program across provinces. Ottawa is exploring legal measures to compel compliance while seeking public support to legitimize the program. The federal stance reflects a broader effort to establish national standards on firearms and safety. Carney's response underscores a high-stakes battle between central governance and provincial independence, raising questions about enforcement and legal authority as tensions continue to escalate. The clash over the buyback program presents significant legal and constitutional challenges. Experts debate the limits of federal power over provincial jurisdiction, particularly concerning firearms regulation. Alberta's defiance could set a precedent affecting future federal-provincial relations, potentially reshaping governance and autonomy in Canada. Constitutional scholars warn that court challenges could take years to resolve, prolonging uncertainty. This standoff tests the balance of powers within Canada's decentralized system, with implications extending beyond the immediate issue of gun control to the broader question of federal influence over provincial policy. The gun buyback program carries substantial financial costs. Ottawa has allocated millions to compensate firearm owners, while the administrative and enforcement costs are also significant. Critics, including Smith, argue these funds could be better spent on pressing provincial priorities such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Financial misallocation is a key point of contention in Alberta, with many questioning whether federal resources are being deployed effectively. As the debate continues, the economic dimension adds weight to political and constitutional arguments, making this not only a public safety debate, but also a discussion about fiscal responsibility and resource allocation. Proponents argue that removing high-powered firearms from civilian hands will reduce mass shooting risks and improve overall public safety. They cite international examples where similar buyback initiatives successfully lowered gun-related deaths. Opponents counter that the program unfairly penalizes responsible gun owners and has limited impact on illegal firearms, which are often the main contributors to crime. Smith stresses that focusing on gang activity, black market firearms, and targeted law enforcement strategies would be more effective in enhancing safety than a broad federal buyback program, emphasizing practical over symbolic policy measures. Law enforcement in Alberta faces complex challenges in this standoff. Provincial police have been instructed to prioritize local crime prevention over federal buyback enforcement. This has created tensions between federal directives and provincial law enforcement priorities. Questions about resource allocation, coordination, and operational focus have emerged. The situation highlights the difficulties of implementing national programs in diverse provincial contexts, demonstrating the need for careful planning and cooperation. Law enforcement's stance further fuels debate about the practicality and enforceability of the federal initiative in resistant provinces. The controversy has heightened tensions between Ottawa and provinces, especially Alberta. This clash exposes the challenges of governing a nation with diverse regional priorities. The outcome may influence future federal-provincial negotiations and national policy approaches, highlighting the delicate balance between centralized authority and provincial autonomy, where one province's resistance can ripple across Canada's decentralized federal system. As the gun buyback dispute continues, federal and provincial leaders face pivotal decisions that will shape Canada's political and legal landscape. Further court battles and public campaigns are likely as both sides seek influence. How resistant provinces implement federal policies in the coming months will determine not only gun control outcomes, but also the broader balance of federal authority and governance, marking a defining moment in national politics. The standoff between Premier Danielle Smith and Prime Minister Mark Carney over the gun buyback program is a defining moment in Canadian politics. It tests federal authority, addresses economic and public safety concerns, and challenges governance structures. As both leaders remain firm, the nation watches closely, understanding that the resolution will influence future federal-provincial relations and the ongoing struggle to balance national security with regional autonomy. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for latest updates.